Welcome to Soul Led Lifestyle Podcast with me, Adele McCoy, and my magical guests, giving you the strategy, tools, and activation you'll need to create your soul-led life. Hi, and welcome to our next episode of this amazing podcast. And today we are going to be talking all about saying no. Like, how many of you have a problem with saying no? Like, seriously, think about it. You know, we may tell our kids, no, you can't have this. No, you can't do that. That comes really easy. But when it comes to, you know, people and situations, we're wanting to people please, right? Most of us want to people please. Rufus tells me all the time that I find it quite easy to say no. He says, oh, you say no all the time. You find it quite easy to say no. But I think that's just come from training myself to be that way. I remember years ago hearing that it was okay to say no. You shouldn't feel guilty about it. And actually you should only do the things that you truly want to do. Okay? And if you're not feeling something, don't just go along with it for the sake of it. Okay? So it's along that whole thing of living a soul-led life. But, you know, saying no is quite a powerful thing because it positions you in a space of, like, people know their boundaries with you. Okay? They have a certain respect because they know that what you're willing and open to and what you're not willing and open to. So I think it's important that we say no more to things that we don't feel aligned to things that we're not happy with, to things that, you know, that we want change, in spaces where we want change, where we would ordinarily say, yeah, say no. And I'm talking about as well, like, there's a difference between making an excuse as to why you don't want to do it or can't do it and actually just saying no. Because that's another thing as well. People will say, okay, I don't really want to let that person down. So what I'm going to do is, instead of saying, no, I'm not going to do it, or I'm not coming, or whatever, I will just make an excuse as to why I can't do the thing, right? But actually, you need to say no, because in making that excuse, A, you're lying, and B, you're still holding that energy. You're holding that energy where you haven't really closed off that gate because you haven't made it clear to that person. That person, in their mind, believes that you would have done it if you never had this other thing to do, or if that other thing didn't happen. Okay, when really you just weren't feeling it, or you just didn't feel aligned to it, or whatever. Keep it real. Okay, now you're probably saying, Adele, that's easier said than done. But you know what? Just start with the smaller things and then build up to the bigger things. Like I said, with me, it took practice. I kind of trained myself to say no in places where ordinarily I would have said yes. I mean, to be totally honest, I was never really a yes person as such, but I would please people, you know, as and when I felt like I needed to. And I would find it hard to say no to some people in my world, or to some scenarios that came up, okay? But when I started the power of saying no, I just can't express. When I started saying no, it's like, okay, that was a weight lifted, and actually it wasn't that bad. And like I say, you position yourself in a space of where people know what they're getting with you. There's no grey, it's black or white, there's no grey areas, okay? And that's what people like. Just straightforward answering, no beating around the bush. And as well, on a spiritual level, when you're saying no to things, you're ending that cycle. You're closing that door, you're closing that gate, and to allow whatever's meant for you to come through easier. Where otherwise you're just living in the grey area. Okay, so you're calling upon certain things to happen into your world, but actually you're sitting in the grey area where you've got a lot of doors kind of left ajar where you haven't quite closed them off because, either you haven't been honest with yourself or with others or whatever the scenario, where you just hadn't said no. So your energy and the energy around whatever that scenario is sitting in the grey area, and it's just there stagnant. But you've kind of moved on, but your energy's still there because you never closed off from it. So whenever there's something that I don't want to do, and believe you me, there's been things. I mean, I can think back to when we used to do printing for people and stuff. And, initially at the beginning, we would take on all the different jobs, all the jobs. I don't know if any of you listeners print clothing, but actually there's not really much money in it unless you're printing in bulk. And so I established, months down the line, actually there'll be nights where we'd be up till all 2-3 in the morning. Then I'd have to get up early in the morning with the children, and it just was tiring. And then it's like the tidying up after, weeding out all the, the materials for the garments and everything. And there's all the stuff that comes with it. When we're printing clothing for people just see the end products and they just think, oh, well, it's only a little print. That shouldn't take long or whatever. But there's so much that goes into it. There's the graphics on the computer. There's the picking the colours that you're going to use. There's the printing it out. There's the weeding it out. Then there's the pressing it. And then there's the packing it and then everything else. So it's a long process. So if you get someone who's just ordering maybe 1 or 2 garments, it's a lot of work for very little amount of finance coming in. So after a while, I started saying no. I started, I said to Rufus, we need to start going bigger here, because if we're going to be spending so much time on doing this, it needs to be worth it. Financially it needs to be worth it, because we're trading our time, which we could be spending with the children, to be doing all of this. We're knackered as well the next day, and it's not fair, is it? So let's start going big, or let's just call it all off, pretty much. He was more open to still dealing with the odd ones that come in, but I was very much like, nah, not interested. So people might message and say, oh, I've got this one t-shirt that I want doing. And I'll be like, well, minimum is 10 or 15 or whatever. And yeah, literally. So from then, people knew that they wouldn't come to me unless they had a big order, because they know that Adele don't print unless, it's over 10 or 15 items. And so you've established that with them. You've positioned yourself in that place because you said, no, we don't do singles anymore, But we could have quite easily have floated through and pleased everyone and got these, single individual items out. But what would that have done to us and our soul, just like barely making ends meet at the time? It's a lot. So that's just like one kind of scenario that I've given you. But there's been other scenarios where I've just been like, you know what? No, not anymore. It's not happening. This is what I can offer. This is what I can do. Take it or leave it, pretty much. And again, that's what makes me feel good. And I always say to everyone, I never do things if it doesn't make me happy. I never do things if I'm not feeling it, just because I live a soul-led life. So if I'm not feeling going to the shops, I ain't going to the shops. I'll order it online or whatever. If I'm not feeling, whatever it is, if I'm not feeling it, I just won't do it. I really do follow my soul, because what my soul needs at that time is to not be in the busy shops, is to not have my kids running around screaming, asking for this, asking for that, throwing things in the trolley, you know, as they do. I can just shop from the leisure of my home. And my soul's fine with that, you know. Don't get me wrong, there'll be days where we'll be out and I'll be like, come on, let's just do the food shop now. Let's get it over with. But you know what? Food shopping in real time is one of my worst nightmares. Now, clothes shopping and things like that, things for the home and stuff like that, I don't mind as long as I don't have the children. I want to be able to enjoy the experience. When you've got the children and shopping, for me, it's a nightmare. So I'm not going to put myself in it just for the sake of it if I don't have to. You know, we have the convenience of having things delivered to our homes now. So if I have no choice because I've got the kids or whatever and I can't, you know, get childcare or whatever to go and do the shopping, then I will do it from home. Pretty much. And again, that's saying no to those things and yes to my soul. Yes to the things that are going to light me up. So you guys think about all the things, even in the last week, think about all the things that you said yes to that really you weren't feeling, but you just done it anyway, just because you wanted to please the person or just because whatever, you know. There's always a way round things. Some might say, well, I don't have certain luxuries of saying no to things. But I tell you what, if you think about it, depending on what the scenario is, there's always a way around it. Or maybe you just don't do it today, you do it on another day or whatever. But there's always ways where you can work, you can mould life the way you want to mould it, you know. Think of it a bit like Play-Doh in your hands, and you can mould it into whatever you want it to be. You just got to be open to it. And actually, the more you do it, the more easier it becomes. And the more scenarios that you find yourself in is just flow energy as opposed to, you know, the energy where it's just all over the place, you know. And again, that brings me to the reason why you should say no sometimes is because you need to be in that flow energy. You know, we'll talk more about that on another episode, but flow energy is, we'll go deeper with it, but I'll just give you kind of like overview if you like. But when you're in a flow energy, it means you're in an aligned energy where things just flow to you because there's no resistance. You have resistance when you're doing something or you find yourself in a scenario that you're not happy with. It could be that you're in a job that you don't like being in. There's a resistance there. But then what comes with that is just more stress, more headache from different directions because your energy has this whole resistance energy. Okay? Whereas if you was in a job that you absolutely adored and you was really happy there and every day you wake up, you bounce out of bed and you find yourself at your job and it's just amazing and it lights you up every day, you're in your flow energy because there's no resistance. You're just happy to receive whatever the day brings today. When you're in a job you don't want to be in, you're like, oh, what is the day going to bring today? What am I going to be made to do today? Like, oh, every day is so boring, it's so the same, blah, 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 blah. You can say no to that. Okay, you can say no because life is truly what you make it. It's not what your family's made it, your parents has made it, your kids have made it, your friends have made it, anything like that. It's only what you have made it. You have the power in your hands to create whatever it is that you want to create. You know, if you want to have a really productive day when you wake up, only you have that power. Now, don't get me wrong, there will be other forces that might step in because that's just life, right? There might be, you've taken the kids to school, you come home, right, you've got a productive day. You turn on the computer in the office and you're ready to go, and then you get the phone call from school, you know, little Sarah's been throwing up, you need to come and get her. Okay, that's a spanner in the works. Your day isn't going how you wanted it to go. But ultimately, it doesn't mean that that's your day. Your day is a mess now because poor little Sarah got ill at school. You just go and pick up little Sarah, you bring her home, you make her comfortable, and then you say, right, what do I do from here? I couldn't do this section of things that I wanted to do, but actually I've still got this that I can complete. The day is not done, okay? All is not ended just because little Sarah's not well. You know, there's always ways around things, okay? There's always ways to enhance your world. You know, like, I never forget that, like, I'm totally going off track here, but I've got to share this with you. One time I was on a school run when my kids used to go to school, and my daughter, I can't remember how old she was. She must have been about 5 or 6, and I was pulling her on a scooter, and I can't remember why, but she was just crying and crying and crying from the moment we left the house. I don't know what I can't remember what it was. She wasn't happy, and I was like, look, you need to stop crying. And then she was like, oh, I want to ride my scooter. I don't want you to push me anymore. I said, okay, fine. So then she was riding her scooter, but she was crying still, just moaning, crying, moaning, crying. And I said, look, you need to stop this, because you, like, it's first thing in the morning, you're going to end up having a really crappy day if you, like, go into school with this crappy energy sort of thing. And she, like, you know, a few meters up the road, her scooter kind of lost balance or whatever, and, you know, she ended up on the floor with a cut knee. It, like, basically tore her tights open and everything. And I looked at her and I said, we need to change the energy, and we need to change it now. You know, and she kind of looked at me, and I said, you know, because you wasn't happy and whatever, you know, this is what's now happened. You've, like, hurt yourself. And so what's it going to be next if you continue? So I cleaned her up. I said, let's smile, let's sing on the way to school. So I can't remember what nursery rhyme it was, but we sang all the way to school. And she had a really good day, and she came out of school and she'd forgotten what had happened to her knee. But, you know, to this day, she remembers that, and she said, Mum, I never forget when I was just being miserable and then I ended up falling down in the road. So now she's aware that actually, you know, her mood and everything can map out the rest of her day. It's a bit like when you stub your toe and you get out of bed and you're angry with that, and then you burn the toast in the toaster, and then it's like, it's an ongoing thing. Stub your toe, yes, it hurts. Scream, shout, swear, whatever you need to do. But then just get on with your day. It's not a big deal, you know. Don't sweat the small stuff, because otherwise they turn into huge things, okay? And be happy, because through the happiness, through your joy energy, you just create so much more magic and clarity as well. It's so easy to see your path when you are in a joyful frame of mind, when you have that joy energy around you. It's so much more clearer. When you're in a place of low vibration, feeling low, feeling fed up, you can't see the sunshine through the rain. It's just totally cloudy and depressing. And you know what I say to people, I know sometimes it's a really good feeling just to wallow in that space. Because we've all been there, right? Where we just feel really crappy and we just want to stay there because we just feel sorry for ourselves. And whenever I'm in that moment and I think to myself, no, I feel so fed up. In that moment, I switch it up, because I'm like, no, come on, snap out of this, Adele. We're not doing this today. Because then that leads you to do nothing. That leads you to just stay stagnant all day. That leads you to not accomplish anything for the day. And then tomorrow, you're going to bring in the same energy, because you're going to feel, you know, that, oh my gosh, there's things you should have done yesterday and you didn't do them because you was in such a terrible mood. So it's about switching up your mood, bringing happiness into your world. And saying no helps with that. It's okay to say no. I can't emphasize it enough. And the next time you are in a position where someone has asked you to do them a favour, you're not feeling it. Or someone's asked you to come out on a night out, you're not feeling it. Or someone's giving you something that you don't like. Or someone, basically, there's a need of you in some sort of way, and you're not feeling it, just say no. just because I'm not feeling it. That's the other thing as well. You don't always have to have like a full-blown reason to your no. It's okay to just say no because you're not feeling it. I don't want to. Nah, I'm not feeling it. It's not lighting me up right now. Might feel different later, but right now, this moment of the question, no, I'm not feeling it actually. But hope it all goes well. Or you can do it. You don't have to do it with me. You know, I'm sure so-and-so will be happy to join you, or so-and-so will be happy to do it for you. But no, I'm not feeling it. And actually just the way people react to that is actually quite funny in itself, because it's like, oh, okay, don't really know what to do with it, you know. And it's because people are not used to hearing people tell them no. And if they do, like, it usually comes with a huge story as to why they can't do it. And a lot of the time it's a fib, because they don't have the guts to just be real. Let's keep it real, okay? And the more you keep it real, the more you're on your soul-led path, because you're doing what your soul truly wants you to do and what you're here to do. You're navigating your way there. So yeah, I hope that was some great knowledge for you, and I hope that gave you the confidence as well to own your power and step into it and say you're not doing it and you're not taking it anymore. And I'm talking like, it could be in any scenario. It could even be in a work scenario. You know, sometimes management take the PISS and it's like, well, you know what? I've done it for this long and I ain't feeling it anymore. You're grown. You can tell management how you're feeling. You know, there's this whole thing of, oh, but they're management and blah, blah. You might lose your job depending on the scenario, but 9 times out of 10, you know, as long as it's something that whatever you're saying no to, you know, it's something that they can see actually they're being unreasonable about, then it shouldn't really be a problem, you know. Just own your power, like truly own your power. It's okay. Nothing huge isn't going to happen. The world isn't going to end just because you said no. Okay, well, that's the end of today's podcast session. On our next episode, it's going to be really, really cool. I'm going to be with my spiritual sister, Carolissa, doing Powerful Portal. So we'll be talking on here, we're sharing some channeled messages. And yeah, we'd love for you all to join. So come by and yeah, hope you enjoy it. That will be on our next episode. But until then, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram under Adele McCoy, or you can find me on my website, which is www.adelemccoy.com. And yeah, but take care, big love, speak soon.